Okay, hello everybody and welcome. Great to see you all here. My name is Colm O'Seorcoid, and if you don't know me already, I'm content marketing manager at Leaddesk. I have a few years under my belt in content marketing and community management. Also played around with a bit of product management as well. And yeah, right now I'm trying to scale Leaddesk to become the #1 contact center in Europe. Let's see how that goes. So I want to welcome all our panelists, and I'm going to give them the mic so they can give a little brief introduction about themselves. So first we have Kirill.
Yeah, so hi everyone, I'm Kirill. I'm a senior paid marketing specialist at the Hive company, which is a full stack B2B marketing agency. So my every marketing opinion is strictly B2B. That's just a disclaimer.
Hi everyone, I'm Quinn Dao. I'm the growth marketing team lead at Quinn Dao. I'm currently owning a website, marketing operation, paid advertising, and global campaigns.
Hi, my name is Mikko. I'm co-founder of Hopkins, a digital marketing agency here in Helsinki. But I myself have practically nothing to do with marketing. I do just data and analytics. Just a background, one of my first international conference sessions I've organized was about the topic marketing and analytics. Can they ever live happily together?
Yeah, hello, my name is Tanja Törnoos. I've been in a B2B marketing space for the last 10 years. In the last 5 years, for the last 5 years, I've worked as a fractional CMO for several B2B tech, SaaS, and industrial automation companies. And yeah, I'm here to share my side from the C level, so to say, in this discussion today.
Hey, Mia Mäkipää. I'm a data and analytics strategist at Advanced B2B, so B2B marketing agency. I have a digital marketing background, and I work with analytics matters, web analytics mostly, and I have a confession to make. I really like GA4.
So let's see what happens next. All right. So first of all, we're going to go through a few topics, and of course there will be time for questions afterwards. But I think we want to kick it off with a little bit about ads and ad blockers. So, like I think all of you know that like there's this increasing use of ad blockers and privacy regulations in Europe and elsewhere. And what kind of challenges do marketers have, and what kind of strategies can we take to, well, not necessarily circumvent them, but help us market to our customers a little bit better. Do you want to kick it off, Kirill?
So yes, naturally, I can talk a lot about ads. I don't know much about increasing use of ad blocker. It is certainly a trend, it's a global trend, but also my marketing life is rather short. People much more experienced than me told me that it's a trend for the last 10, 15 years, which I fully trust. Yes, it's the case. And from ads perspective, well, there is not much you can do. People block your ads. You can focus on organic content, but it's not ads anymore, so it's a different strategy, different approach. But as for tightening regulations, data privacy, it of course affect ads as much as any other channel. Ads perhaps most crucially because ads often relies on algorithms and data to automatically optimize, and people looking at the data and making decisions which ads works, which way don't, what leads to what. And my take on it is that yes, it's all very sad and bad, but also in B2B it's not that crucial at any view, sort of, because so how, at least from ad perspective, the problem right now happens between when data is transferred from ad platform to your website, to like kind of your data, your first party data. And there's no problems on the ad platform. You know, all the first party data, all the clicks, impressions, all the demographics data, in case of, for example, LinkedIn ads, is there, and it will be there because it's their own, and you can look at it. And then your own data is your own data. You can also look at it without a problem. The problem is to time the first part of the second one. So which click on an ad led to what outcome. And the thing is that in B2B at least, it doesn't work that anyway. So there is not like a person, someone browsing for like LinkedIn or whatever other platform sees your like $1 million product solution that, you know, should be implemented across like 2 years to work properly, will be suddenly convinced that this is a great idea to purchase it and buy it, like book a meeting right away. That never ever happens. It always like multiple touches. I think there was like a research that says, oh, it's supposed to be have 10 to 12 meaningful touches. So like interacting with your content, reading your stuff, maybe talking to your people on LinkedIn or something like that. And that we cannot track anyway. Well, there are some specialized software that can do it, but this is not very accurate. And most marketers, well, at least myself, I kind of accept it. Yeah, well, this is why bother really? You cannot link these two things directly, accurately. You can mostly speculate. And how speculation looks like is that you're looking at the metrics on the ad platform. Okay, maybe this particular ad is doing numbers. And then you can see uplift on the other end of the spectrum. It's how how they measured marketing back in maybe before digital. Like you put a billboard in the city, do sales go up in this city? Yes, well, that's a billboard attributed to this. This is the same logic, really. And that's actually how also many campaigns now approach is like a digital banners. They're always running, and then it looks like on the other end of the spectrum, again, is there any uplift in traffic, maybe in leads and meetings and whatever the goal is. Is there not? Yes, it can be hard nowadays because there's so many marketing activities happening at the same time, but I mean, there are some steps you can take to limit one marketing activity at a time so you can track it more accurately on the other end, but you cannot really link two together. And that's what data kind of those cookies, when they disappear and all these data regulations are going to kill this connection, which is already super weak. So in B2B, people have been adapting to figuring things out without a direct connection for, well, at least from the very beginning of the pandemic when it all went very digital. So yeah, and basically the main solutions right now would be that you speculate this kind of way, trying to match some disconnected data points to each other and then make some conclusions out of it. Or you also talk to your customers and ask, hey, how did you find us? Not the most reliable source, but pretty good because people are obviously not going to remember every single interaction they had with you, but they had still going to have at least they're going to remember the most important one. Because, your LinkedIn content, or your videos are awesome or something like that. And if you ask enough people, that gives you a good picture of what's happening. And that's pretty much it. And that's why I think, it's not going to be an issue. Oh, another point. Okay, I remembered one more thing. There's a trend in all the ad platforms, which can afford or allow it themselves to do, is to keep things within the platform. So LinkedIn is a good example when they introduce all these kind of cool features. There's communities, articles, events, streams even, and all kind of things. And it's good because they all have this data. It's also convenient for the end user because they don't have to leave to a potentially very boring and bad-looking website as it often happens in B2B. It's all on wonderful LinkedIn, they don't have to leave, it works great. And then the actual conversion point also can be happening on LinkedIn. People talk to you in DMs, so maybe there's like a classical form submission to like schedule a demo or something like this. And that's also a big trend. I think platforms like, Google, I don't know how Google can do this. I don't think Google can do this. It doesn't have a platform to hang out kind of ish, I think. I'm not sure. Meta is, I think, also trying to do it in B2C context because it's a bigger business for them. But this is also like overall trying to keep people within the platform and don't let them escape anywhere. I think it's pretty common nowadays. So when you post organically content, you shouldn't include a link there because algorithm's gonna not like you and gonna shadow ban you or something like this. So this is two main things: keeping things inside of the platform. Also when it comes to ads, so focus rather than on traffic and clicks and like direct attributable more traditional results to like content consumption, people watching your video, people liking your stuff. Great, this is awesome. This is what you'll be looking for. And then trying to measure things separately on the other end of the spectrum, like saying, oh, great, we get sales. Probably our ads work, or maybe not. We don't know for sure, but we're pretty sure that they do.
Well, Mikko had his hand up first, so.
Okay, thank you. I have seen basically two different approaches by marketers as an answer to the recent development with the recent having something like the last 5 years. Basically, the first approach is becoming more and more common, especially in B2B, and maybe to a lesser extent in B2C, and that is the fact that marketers start to claim that we don't use data and analytics anymore. GA is useless and such things. But we do hear it all the time. I hear it all the time. People can, oh, now that we don't have cookies anymore, we don't need any analytics data. Let's just let ad platforms do their job. And all we have to do is give them something to eat. Their machine learning algorithms are much better than people using GA event could be. And then the other thing, on one hand, the marketers nowadays don't like to use analytics, but on the other hand, they try to do all the creepy stuff. For example, especially in B2B, they like to send personal data to advertising platforms using all kinds of conversion APIs, or you might call them enhanced conversions or whatever. Both Google and Meta are very, how would I say, they claim that it's privacy-friendly way to track conversions or measure conversions. They actually don't want to talk about tracking. They use word ping nowadays because ping sounds much nicer than tracking, doesn't it? So now what B2B marketers and B2C marketers want to do is to send data from server directly to advertising platforms. So they want to avoid all the consent. They want to do tracking intransparently. They might hide the fact that they are sharing data with platforms somewhere deep in the small text hidden in their privacy statement pages. For example, if you go to some of the well-known retailers, buy their new laptop, they might ask you, would you like to receive the receipt and guarantee your email? Oh sure, you can send it to me at mikko.pippo@hopkins.fi. And why they actually need this is that now they have your email address and telephone number probably also, and so they can send it to both Google and Meta and Schibsted and wherever they do send it. So that's creepy. But that's something marketers like about data. They don't like to use the data or look at analytics, look at the numbers. They just want to share your personal data with platforms.
Well, thank you, Mikko. Very interesting points. I would like to get back to what Kirill was saying earlier about ad blockers and the removing of cookies data. My background is B2B SaaS, and my company is generating about 98% of our revenue from inbound marketing. So from the tactical point of view, what I would like to add in the example what Kirill was saying, that when you lose tracking data, how can you tell where did the MQL, the marketing qualified lead, come from? So in our company, it involved process changes internally. So the first process we changed was a change in our form where people register to ask for a demo from us. We ended on questioning the form and ask them, when did you hear about us? So we get the data consistently every single time a person becomes an MQL. Sometimes they say like, no, I don't know, I don't remember. But most of the time, I would say 90% of the time, they did tell us where they heard our name from. And we do have attribution in place. We track attributor as one of the tools we use to track the MQLs. And it's very interesting to see that sometimes people would go to our website because of a paid search. So they click on a search ad and then they claim that they know about us from a friend. So they probably got a friend recommending the company, and then when they search for our name on Google or Bing, they see the ads and they click there. Or maybe they were just randomly seeing something and they're like, hey, I have this name is familiar, my friend told me about this before, so I click there. So it's very interesting to look at the data. The second process that we changed is also how our sales team work. So we also added in our Salesforce CRM system a question, how did this person hear about us? So whenever the salesperson have the first chat with the customer or a potential customer, and they can ask them, hey, so by the way, how did you know about us? And then we can use all of these data to try to draw a more complete picture of how the customer comes to us. But on the high level strategy side, I'm a marketer that I don't believe in showing ads to people. I believe in content marketing. I believe in delivering good values to the customers and they want to come to us. And I'm very lucky that my current company is believing in the same strategy. Content marketing is very strong, and that's why we can kind of overcome all of the challenge of ad local or cookies policy, because people come to us. We offer really personalized and high quality content to our target customers, and we distribute this content in different channels. So LinkedIn, for example, is very strong. We have more than 30,000 followers on LinkedIn. Every week we gain 200 to 300 followers. Every post we share, we get about 100 shares and reposts and comments, because the content is so good and it's so relevant to the target audience that they want to listen to it and they come to us. And we distribute the content on our website, and that's why organic search has been bringing in about 40% of the MQL. And then we also distribute our content via webinars, and people will be like, oh, webinars, so last year, Corona kind of thing. But our webinars, since we want to educate the target customers, we often don't have enough time to answer questions from people because they have so many questions, they are so interested in the topic. And in the end, we would ask them, would you want to see a demo from our product? And those people tend to be very high quality MQL because they came to the webinar to learn and they was impressed with the team, and that's why they become the MQL. And then partner is another way that we overcome the problem of tracking and digital work, that we want to fit the partners to sell to different markets. So in that sense, from the strategy point of view, I'm not too concerned about ad blocker and tracking policy, because I want to promote this thing that we want people to come to us because we do something useful for them. For the context, our company has been around for 20 years, so of course we did have some time to build up the reputation and get people to know us, but still we continue to grow because we offer something useful for the people, and that's why they want to hear from us. Email marketing is another thing that people want to subscribe to us to hear from us, but I don't want to take too much time. I'm just going to share some example of what content marketing can do.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. That was really comprehensive about how you do marketing. I would like to go back to what Mikko said about the two types of marketers, because I fall into the first category for sure. Even like 10 years ago when I started, when there was not so much ad blockers and not so much data privacy regulations, where I could track basically everything. Even then I was like, do we need to look at the data and all of that? I came to appreciate data later on. But my problem is this. So now with these increased privacy regulations and data protection and so on, is that when I'm in a meeting and I tell the management or I tell the board, like, okay, this is the kind of data we have from our website, but half of it is missing because of people did not opt in for the cookies or whatever. I cannot say that. I always have to come up with that kind of like a reason. Okay, why don't we have that? And of course I explain it then. But it's also like, it feels like to them this is just like half the truth, so why even talk about it? So do you have a solution to that? Because I need one.
We need brighter clients. Because that's something I've experienced too, because somehow most of my clients are bright people. They have studied business, engineering, whatever, and they should very well know that 50% should be a completely good sample of any website visitors.
Oh, yeah.
But it's difficult. It's always discussion about, we need 100% of data. This is useless. We can't do anything with it if we have only 40% of data or 60%. But with any reasonable number of visitors, it should be more than enough for any practical use, or improving your website performance, or identifying the most important channels, even in B2B.
So I should go back to the good old, like, that it's a representable group, in kind of like in research.
But we have to also remember that it's a well-studied phenomenon by educational researchers that marketers suffer from math and statistics anxiety. You can Google for this topic in Google Scholar, and you'll find all kinds of interesting research on that.
yeah, I would probably sympathize that. I guess the answer is then twofold. That on the other hand, with the tightening privacy regulations, we do come back to the very basics of content marketing and sort of inbound marketing in terms of like needing the customer to come to us and us needing to create content that's engaging and interesting and ageless enough that people want to reach us and they want to give us sort of their most valuable thing, which is their like private information, so that we can contact them. We have to give them a reason to do that. On the other hand, we can no longer assume that things work the way that they used to in like 95, where you could just poach anyone's IP address and like find out where they live and knock on their door and say like, hey, you know, I saw you watching this, you know, buy it. Obviously, that a bit of a reach there, but you know what I mean. Like, if someone's like, hey, you know, 10 years ago I used to get this information, it's like, well, sir, that boat has sailed. Like, let's move on together. So then it comes like, but you also need to have this interest and this understanding that data is still important, and analytics is still important, and understanding what our customers need is still important, and that's why you need to invest in sort of new tools, new strategies, new techniques, and keep increasing the data literacy of your organization. And one part of that is exactly this, like what is the threshold after which we can say like this data is sufficient enough that we can use this to make decisions.
Very interesting. I just want to share an example of the number, like what is the number that we are comfortable with. Within our marketing team, we are comfortable with 15% unknown sources. So if we have 85% of the data, which we are very close with about 83% of the data now, so we feel like we can do some conclusion based on the data we have.
That's really
Just maybe quickly summarize what has been said, and like my own overall take on this is that there's been this era of, I don't know, 20 years or so, 15 years of tracking every single movement in the digital, and people get obsessed over it because it's so cool, you know, everything, you know, what happens, everything. You can make so many awesome conclusions, but they're also wrong because, you know, marketers are not data scientists. They sometimes assume things very often. And especially in ads, it's a big pressure because you used to be able to report every single euro you spent. You know, this did that, did this, what this outcome, and now you cannot do this. And this is eventually goes to actually not maybe 95, but like, I don't know, in the 80s or something, when there was no digital, you cannot track most of the touch points. You could, like I said, put up a billboard, or maybe send out some flyers, and then maybe you can talk to people at some point and get opinion of a few people and make a kind of a overall conclusions out of it is like some kind of data sample. And we're basically going back to this old ages, back to the past where, you know, not everything attributable. You have some data and you have to not guess, but kind of draw logical lines between things. And
We'll give a last thing to Mikko.
Yeah, so I'm going to go further back in time. I'm not going to talk about 2010s or early 2000s or even 19s. 100 years back in time. Because when we launched our agency, we decided to call it Hopkins. And why is that? About 100 years ago, even more, there was a copywriter in the United States. His name was Claude Hopkins. And he wrote a book about scientific advertising, how he was able to track conversions and attribute them to different channels. What did he do? He used return coupons in print advertising. So whenever people saw an ad, they had to cut a coupon and mail it to the company. And please send me a sample of the new Pepsodent or whatever. Actually, he did write copy for Pepsodent and long form copy. So he was the guy who made everyone, or not everyone, but started measurement in advertising. He analyzed if it's better to use colored ads or black and white, if text only or text with images, which should he use full pages or just a tiny ad on some page or in specific journal. So It was done already 100 years ago, and of course, even then, there were people who claimed that brand is everything. We don't need to try to or attribute conversions to anything. Thank you.
A good book as well, actually.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Scientific Advertising, Paul Hopkins, well worth reading. I was going to go into like the learning curve of GA4 next, but I think I'm gonna go with Quinn first because I was actually very interested to hear about like the way you use content in one-click LCA. And like the question that I want you to start out with is like personalizing messages being to your target audience, one that's effective and respects privacy. But I also like want to really highlight the fact that you're a B2B company and it's a really niche audience. And I think it was, I think I was listening to Neil Patel or something a few days ago, and he was talking about there's no point in talking to a niche audience in webinars and so on because because your audience is too small. But I think you probably have something to say about that.
Very interesting question, Colm. And to provide a context for everybody, our company, MENTEE LCA, we offer a B2B software for construction industry. And what our software does is that our CEO, more than 20 years ago, he noticed that the construction industry contributes to about 40% of global CO2 emission. So if he wants to help the planet Earth and to earn some money at the same time, that would be where he could focus his energy. And that's why he started the company, to have this software to help construction industry to be able to calculate how much CO2 emission they are emitting to the planet Earth by building some certain buildings or bridges. And then we're also targeting the manufacturers who produce like floors, ceiling, concrete, steel that are needed in a building. And I think we have one customer here right in the room. So I'm not sure if we are that niche, if we have one customer standing right in the room. We target two main group of customer, AEC, meaning architecture, engineer, contractors. So they are the people who design and build buildings and infrastructures like bridges. And the second group we target is the manufacturers. So basically the people who produce brick, steel, floor, insulation, those kind of things. Globally, we are talking to actually millions of people. They do have very particular needs as well, like any other audiences, that each target audience, they hang out at different places, they appreciate different things. For our company, the strategy so far has been very much factual, that whatever we say, we have to be very, very correct, because we talk about regulation and certification that different projects need to follow. So that's why I think that is the content strategy that we have been followed, that we talk to a particular group of people, whether it's an architect, an engineer, a contractor, or sustainability manager, and then we use a lot of facts to prove that we actually know what we are doing. I do want to add in how we offer personalized content. So our website is a mess right now, to be honest, because we have way too much content, because we do want to write to every single person. And one article may have few hundreds of views, but when we have many of those articles, that it adds up, we serve up to 4,000 visitors per week on our website. And that's why I'm to renew our website, to just restructure everything to make it easier for people to find the information. So our plan is that hopefully early next year, when an architect from a certain type of company go to our website, they immediately know that, hey, this is the path I should follow to find the information that I need. So right now we try to put them into different job categories, but there's a lot of room to improve. So that's our plan, how we can offer more personalized content to the people straight on the website, since we get a lot of people to our website. Cool.
Mia, this goes next.
Yes, I'm thinking of this personalization maybe from a little bit more boring and technical perspective, but to me this links to the kind of missing the data that we are starting to, or missing more and more in terms of with the death of third-party cookies and so forth. So we can't really attribute paid ads anymore, and we're not really sure how we should target ads and everything. So then what comes into play is the new types of methods that we can use, such as contextual advertising, or well, I'm sure I have plenty of other examples, but so basically we need to have these new toolboxes in terms of both sort of SEO and then with this new types of advertising. And in order to be able to do that, you have to understand what type of data is missing, and then you have to understand what kind of technological things are doable, are possible, are legal to kind of fill in that void. And I think that for our company, we work with SaaS businesses and they are already quite data savvy, or paid ads people are data savvy, or content people are quite data savvy. So for us, I think it's easier that they already know, like, okay, we are losing this and this information. Now we know kind of like, let's use the demo account information, ask for something and so forth. So we know how to fill the gaps, but then there are a lot of companies. I think in many ways B2B SaaS is always one of the forefronts when it comes to kind of like adapting digital strategies and so forth. So this is, I think, something that is this is a really big chance for companies at the C-level also to kind of start to think about, like, do we have enough in the strategic level, in the C-level, do we have enough understanding that we understand what kind of data we're losing, and we understand what kind of strategies we can use to fill that gap. Because it can't only be in the hands of sort of the data engineers or the web analytics people to really come up with new marketing strategies to reach new audiences, because these type of things should come more from the C-level. But then if there's this void or this gap in understanding what's possible, what's missing, what's coming, what should we do, then this gap will just get larger, and then it will lead to C-level thinking like data is now useless, like let's just guess. So I would maybe kind of like speak on behalf of, again, like cooperation between analysts and like strategic people, and then the marketers sort of in between, trying to understand everything about everything, because that's what marketers do, right? Easy peasy.
I might add there that, I mean, I agree. It's a two-way street actually. Like when you talk about that, hey, you have this target audience and you might want to go into a new segment and so on. Like, for example, I used to work with an industrial automation company that had basically 300 companies in the world as potential customers. So very, very niche. And they did this like, what do you call it? Like some grinding robot machines. And one of the main customer segment was aerospace, because those turbine engines that will be really accurate grinding in order to work properly and don't fall from the sky then, and maritime. But after we've been doing like a year of like marketing, demand generation and so on, we realized there was a new segment that we didn't even know, that was 3D printing, like the rise of 3D printing. Like they wanted to have they were 3D printing like teeth, like these kind of things, and they also needed to be like very smooth. And he only knew about this because of the marketing data. Like the management or the board and the investors, nobody even thought of going into that direction, into that segment. So, but of course it can also go the other way, that it comes from top down or bottom up.
I think that's a very interesting part about using the data, and that's one of the things that we are trying to change in our marketing team, that our problem is not having data, but not using the data. For example, very similar to Tanja's example, that we look at our target audience as two main groups, the architect and then the manufacturers, and then we have a bucket for others. So anybody else, so that it is to go to others. We were doing one of our regular monthly retro meeting to look at the data, and we had 5 regions, so North America, Western Europe, Nordics, and so on. And then suddenly I saw that, hey, the other bucket is getting really big. What are these people? And we started to look into the data, and we saw that there are like 4 or 5 different potential groups of industries that are grouped under others. So I asked our data analyst to, hey, can you break down this other bucket into something smaller so we can actually get something useful from the data? And we found out that investor is another group of potential customer, because when they invest in a new building, they want to make sure that the building also is sustainable and is green, so that they can actually advertise to the other investor that, hey, give money to me because I only invest in green buildings. So that becomes a new target customer that we can do a marketing campaign with very personalized message to them, because investor thinks differently than an architect. So yeah, like having data is important, but it's only important to actually use the data.
Right.
This isn't probably directly related to any of the previous comments, but I just got an idea, or not a new idea, but something to remember. We do have data, but it's really difficult to use, for example, Google Analytics data or advertising platforms data to find out who the people actually are. So we have to ask them. We have to ask website visitors to which target group they belong to. For example, I have used sometimes simple surveys like, do you work in an agency? Do you work client side? Are you looking for a job? And so on. Because that gives us basis for personalization. We don't have to use any data or advanced or personalization algorithms and machine learning and AI to find out who the people are. If you simply ask them.
Yeah, also on that point, I agree with Mikko, is that there's again this obsession with data and using data for some marketing magic, especially on the topic of personalization. So I think personalization sometimes done on such a detailed level that it's just creepy. So I get the email saying, "Oh, you've been to our website. Let's have a chat." Why? It doesn't make any it just feels weird to me, at least. It's not like database. It's just my opinion, but also we live in a world where there's a lot of open data. Just it's enough personalization level to just kind of build a persona, figure out roughly their genuine pain points, and kind of craft a messaging around this. There's no need to go after every individual kind of person, figure out their activities and what's the best approach to this particular person, because it's creepy and inefficient and genuinely just weird. Even said that chatbots, whoever enjoys talking to a chatbot, this is like a new thing. We talk about AI and personalization. This is not an enjoyable experience, and it's not likely to get much better. This is not what is needed, I feel like. And also about the genuine data again. In marketing, at least, I find myself guilty of that, and I think many marketers too. We don't invest enough into initial research before jumping into tactics. So we're hoping to some kind of magical algorithm, be it ad platform or something else, we just figure out for ourselves, or we build a beautiful automatic scoring module that's going to score our leads and tell us if we should contact someone or not. But just if you invest several hours, there's plenty of tools, or just talk to people and figure out what do people want to know, what their pain points, what do they want to solve, and then you can craft a very good messaging and without being creepy as well. But instead we often jump into shiny new tools because they somehow supposed to resolve our pain, but in reality they add more kind of to our tool stack and makes things confusing and eventually inefficient because the data tightening is affecting that too.
Thank you. So I slightly disagree with you there in terms of how we can use AI to provide a more personalized experience for the user. I work the website, that's why I talk about the website a lot. And since we are serving 4,000 visitors per week, it's a lot of people to make sure that they can get the thing they need from our website. And our website has a lot of content, and we do have a chatbot. But our chatbot is like any other typical chatbot. It's more like you ask a question and there are different options A, B, C you choose, and based on your answer that you choose the next one. And for me as a user, whenever I go to a website, we have a chatbot. Another obstacle I have as a user is that I don't speak Finnish and I'm living in Finland. So the chatbot is very often in Finnish, so chatbot for me is basically useless. But I do enjoy talking to somewhat of a person to help me, to guide me through the journey, especially when the product is complicated or there's so much information on the website that I don't know where to start. I just want to spend 5 minutes to read the information. I don't want to go to the whole website to try to find the right information. And that's why I got super excited by this one startup in Berlin. They reached out to us to pitch a beta product for our website to test. It's a very interesting chatbot that is used ChatGPT as the foundation, and if we on top of that, so it becomes like a virtual assistant to a person on the website. So it could be more like a fluent conversation with a real person than actually talking to a bot. And you can actually train the bot to speak like any personality. If you have a brand personality that you would like the bot to have, the bot can do that. For example, we were thinking that our CEO has a very strong personality and presence and reputation in the industry. So we can give the bot his email contact, his LinkedIn text, even his TED talk or videos or webinar talk, and the bot can pick up his personality and can reply to people like he's replying. And the bot search the content within our website. So that if they ask, hey, if I want to only buy one feature of your product, what do I do? Then the bot would search the website for the information and return the information. Or if I want to ask, hey, I'm just a beginner, I want to learn more about this, how can you help me? And the bot gives me that kind of information. So it feels more like talking to a person than actually talking to a bot with A, B, C, D, multiple choice answers.
Sorry.
Yeah, so I just want to disagree in that sense that as a user, I would really appreciate that kind of chatbot that feels more like a person than actually a BCD kind of bot.
Well, I can only say that, to me, again, it's just my opinion, it feels even more creepy. Because, yes, I do take your point about the chatbot that kind of gives you option. Actually, that you said it's not the best, it gives you option when the site navigation of the site is so terrible, you just ask chatbot to, lead me somewhere. That actually makes perfect sense, but it's not exactly the chatbot I was talking about. It's more like what you described. Talking to the AI machine like this person, I've never seen it work. It never worked for me, but I also don't have any data. Like maybe people actually enjoy it mostly, but I think it's kind of unnecessary.
Well, I can jump in there slightly before we go on to the next question. First, all you can check out EliteNet because we do have AI chatbots and we are working with GPT-4. Secondly, I've been working with AI chatbots for 5 years and I can tell you the customer service teams absolutely love them. I think one thing that I would like to summarize here is that we as marketers have become really self-centered and antisocial. Yeah, no, seriously. Between 2003 and 2004 and the last few years, we've had data to tell us everything we want about our customers. So we don't talk to them anymore. And we really should talk to our customers because they know what they're doing. They know what they want. They're our customers, for goodness sake. I just wanted to bring that in because it is extremely important that we stop being antisocial. We start talking to our customers, whether it's we're bringing in information from forums, whether it's we're using chatbots to gather data from, or whether we actually just sit down, do a customer interview, and actually talk to them, figure out what their jobs are, figure out what we can do for them and what they actually use our software or our product for. Yeah, I know I'm not supposed to talk, but I want to put that in. Moving on to the next topic, we're going well over time, but I think this is an awesome discussion. Let's hop into GA4. The woe of almost every marketer out there since we got forced into it in July. Sorry, Mia.
We're excited to welcome it to Grow.
Yeah, well, I'll pass it to Mikko first, and then I'll go over to you. So first of all, it's about the learning curve, how hard it is to learn, and is it actually useful to use GA4? Mikko, do you want to start off, Shaz?
So, I love GA4. It's the best product Google has ever brought to, maybe not to marketers, but to analysts and agencies. So there are so many things I love about GA4. First of all, when I first started using it, it was still called Web Plus App. What was it? No, App Plus Web. So that very few people understood what it was all about. Actually, quite many people thought that it's only a tool for measuring apps, not websites. And it was a really simple tool at that time. So I was able to create simple GA4 implementations to some of the clients I forced to migrate early. And then it gave me lots and lots of opportunities to sell more of my services because every month there are new features I can sell to my clients. Why don't we implement this? Why don't we implement that? And when clients ask me, how does it function? I said, I think it functions in this way, but I'm not sure. And Google has not really given us any documentation about this feature. So let's find out. More billable hours. Then what else? Sometimes the clients have noticed something really weird happening there. Like, for example, why does GA4 report us twice as many conversions for this day and yesterday than there really are? Well, it took me days and days to find out the reason for this.
More billable hours.
More billable hours, exactly. And more reasons to love GA4. Then every analytics specialist in the world has kept telling marketers that to get every value or all the value out of GA4, you need to integrate it with BigQuery. You need to use raw data, stream data to BigQuery, and use BigQuery/SQL to analyze the data. Of course, this is something no marketer can do. More billable hours. What else? Well, it's infinitely configurable. Every company has their own very specific implementation. That's also something I love. And also you can modify all the reports, so there are no standard reports in GA4. Basically, there are very few reports at all. There are maybe 10 reports instead of those 100/ a couple of hundred when you include all the tabs in the Universal Analytics. So with Universal Analytics, marketers could just click their way around the user interface and find something they thought that might be interesting, or they might just lose their way in the user interface for hours and hours without finding anything. In GA4, it takes only a couple of minutes to understand that there's nothing interesting for you. So once again, you need a consultant to bring more value out of your GA4, to configure it to function in the way you need it. But that also means that as a marketer, you need to really understand what kind of data you want to have out of GA4. It's not just a tool you can simply implement and copy and paste the implementation from one side to another. You really have to think about your priorities, what you want to track, what is important. If you want to integrate it with different data sources, everything is possible. You can even use BigQuery to integrate it with other databases, to combine the data, stitch it together, and whatever is possible. Then there are, of course, things I don't like so much about GA4. For example, how Google claims that it's so privacy friendly, how it messes everything in a way that it's so difficult to know where we actually have measured data and what data is based on some fancy machine learning algorithms creating some data. Then there are these supposedly for privacy reason introduced thresholds in the reports. You don't get data for visitor groups if they are too small, and so on and so on. But luckily there are also alternatives. If you don't like to use GA4, you don't have to. There are many good alternatives and you can use any of them. And well, I mostly work nowadays with alternatives. So both open source, closed source, Europe, and basically all of them are European based, sometimes installed in my client's own server, sometimes in Nordic cloud, sometimes, I don't know, sometimes even in Azure or crazy to even think about in Google's cloud.
Sure.
Just have a question. Yeah.
So, well, now we understand why you love it. More invoiceable hours.
I'm a consultant.
Yeah, but I'm on the other side that I usually work with startups with very small marketing teams and a limited budget who probably can't afford your hourly rate. So do you have any advice for us? Because this sounds, without any external data analyst to really set this up for you in a proper way, there is no point. Am I right? Or so how would you go about that if you would be like a 3 people marketing team and you don't have the resources to set up GA4 that way?
Use a simpler tool. I have my preference. I used to be a vocal supporter of open source Matomo analytics. Not anymore, since I've used it too much with some high traffic sites. It just doesn't function well enough if you have more than, well, let's say, if you have even a medium-sized website like 50,000 monthly visitors, it becomes too slow. It becomes a horrible pain in every imaginable way if you have a website or mobile app with, let's say, 10 million monthly sessions. For example, if you create a report or new report or create a new segment you want to use, if you're lucky, you have the data tomorrow. Because of that, I nowadays recommend most of my clients who don't want to use GA4 a Polish software called Pivik Pro, and it's very close to universal analytics, and the company is European. The data can be stored in European, even in fully Swedish-owned data centers. So that has been good enough for even the most privacy-focused clients I have.
I would say that I think the majority, I kind of oppose that because I think the majority of things that Mikko was actually talking about, you have to do this extra configurations, you have to do this, you have to use BigQuery, those actually apply to a very small percentage of companies that have like really big amounts of data. But for example, I work with B2B tech and we'd have not that much traffic in the website usually. They are low traffic, so I have not had a company yet where we would have had these kind of issues. Like I've just set the GA4 up and it's actually gone quite nicely. I think the biggest issue legit is that GA4 came to a time when it became to us at the same time as privacy regulations are getting stricter, and it's not a coincidence. It came out as an answer to that, right? But then people started feeling like, well, this stuff is really boring, I don't really know if I need it, oh no, I have to learn something new, I don't really feel like it, so then you kind of like opt out of it. Or then you just do what you have been doing every goddamn day in your digital marketing career, which is like learn something new. So I think the majority of my customers were like, oh, okay, something new, and I was like, I would spend like an hour, I walk them through, this is the UI, here you see this, here you see that. They're like, okay, I don't have a problem. Because the mentality is like, if something changes, then you adapt. Like, if you don't do that, then why are you here? What are you doing? So, I'm sorry, I care about this, and I feel like you really went me there. It was like a roast, so I really want to like come back and say, no, it is easy to use, it is intuitive, and the best thing about it, and I think that's really helped, like my customers change their way of thinking. Like one of my pet peeves with web analytics has always been that it's like, Google Analytics Universal was always page load based. So you were like, okay, how many people came to this page? How many people came to that page? Who cares? What you should care about is the engagement metrics. So how many people did something meaningful in that page, and what did they do, and what did they do after that, and what did they do before they submitted a form or whatever. And this, the event-based logic that GA4 has, I think, has really forced a lot of people to finally like change their way of thinking of web analytics into this conversion-based and event-based, and I think that's amazing. And I will die on this hill.
So basically, a data consultant and a data strategist tells us that they love GA4, while the majority of the regular marketers, some like, typical marketers who wears wearing many hats and doesn't have maybe industrial specialty in the field, doesn't really like it. So basically, how I see the situation with GA4 is that Google took something that was user-friendly and easy to use and install, and just made it very complicated. And now, people who deal with data love it, because I still don't really get why, though. So you said, it's so great, but it's also very complex. So you need like a consultant. Like it seems like more billable hours is one of the primary reasons you love it. But I'm also curious because Google has this tendency, all of the app platforms or anything, people, they lower the barrier. They make things easier for people. It's easy, for example, Google Ads. They take away control from you. They automatically generate ads for you. Very easy to go in and spend your money. But for some reason, Google decided to make GA4 harder to enter because the interface is just worse. Like I don't actively use it as much, and I'm like can't say that I'm struggling. I already used to it, but it's like not user friendly at all. And if you are not as invested as even I am into data analytics, it's really like a hard time. So what exactly is so great about GA4? How is it that much better than UA? And like what's up? And why Google is even doing this? Why did it make so complicated? What's up?
With that, Quinn and Mikko.
Well, I just want to share my horror experience of using GA4. Thank you, Mia, for analyzing that it's an event-based tracking software now instead of the universal tracking before. I didn't pay attention to that, but it makes sense. So my horror was that in August, I was looking at our data in GA4, and I saw that we had thousands of form start, and then we have a couple of form submission. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, what's going on with our forms? Why are we losing one of these people? And if me as the marketer need to improve something, that is where I'm going to invest my money. So we spent August to understand why our form submission is 1,000, and then our form start is 1,000, and our form submission is just like a couple of hundreds. We couldn't find a reason. Our team went online, talked to ChatGPT, did a bunch of research. We couldn't find a reason. And then in September, we finally got an account manager from Google. And the account manager from Google sent a technician to audit our GA4 setup. And the person came up and said, everything is good, everything is fine, we did great. And then I asked this question, then why do we have this problem? And the guy said that, it doesn't work, so don't look at that data. And me, I trust Google. I would assume that everything in the public product from Google should work. So that was something that very unexpected. So that's my core with using GA4.
Like, to be honest, I actually agree with most of what Mia said. Most problems with GA4 are caused by overly complicated implementations. For example, just like Mia told us, with B2B, a pretty simple implementation is usually enough. And then you need someone to just remove the unnecessary reports there. Then you have a couple of key reports with the most important data marketers need in their everyday work. But things get more interesting when you start to slice and dice the data using the Explorer tool in GA4. It takes some experience, and you need to start thinking about the data a bit more like analyst, not just like someone who is used to having a look at those familiar reports in Universal Analytics. And if you really want to have a user interface like Universal Analytics had, there are some freely available community templates for Looker Studio that will basically duplicate the Universal Analytics interface and fetch the data from GA4, but that's only for the worst advocates who just can't give up.
I'm going to try and move things along here, but I think it's a really good point to go over then to Tanja, because like your fractional CMO was here, you work with a lot of companies and you're working with C-level execs all the time. And when it comes to things like GA4 or universal analytics, what do they actually care about this stuff? What are the things that C-level people want to hear, and then how can these people answer you on how they can deliver it? Because that's what really matters, right? That's where the budget comes from.
Well, I could answer that with one word. And then one word is revenue. I mean, that's what they care about. And I learned this the hard way the first time that I joined I was a country manager and responsible for the marketing in the German-speaking countries. And I joined one of those meetings once at the very beginning before I became fractional CMO. And I had my nice presentation prepared and all like the clicks and all the time on site and all of that. And they literally asked me one question, which was, what is the cost? Like, what is the acquisition cost? Like, how much are we spending to get these people to sign up? It was a B2B SaaS, so it was really like marketing led and all of that. And that was really an eye-opener for me also, like in future discussions, and also like recently even more so, because in the startup world, like money is not freely flowing as it used to, like with investments, is like with cash injections and all of that. Companies are really, instead of going for hyper growth, we have 1 million users and 10 of them are paying. Like these days are gone. So what investors are looking for is, I really like this, how much money do we make with one customer, how much revenue are we making? And you have to remember that when you report your data or whatever piece of information you have to the CMO usually reports it to the CEO, and in some cases, of course, to the CFO. And they are reporting to the shareholders, to the owners, to the investors. And they really don't care about the clicks, about the eyeballs, the impressions, I know we because I'm a content marketer by trade, like content is my home. And it was really like disappointing for me to hear that they don't care about my beautiful marketing campaign. So it is a little like, it is very like numbers-based, I would say. But I mean, like to sum it up, I would say that about first is of course revenue and acquisition costs. And the second is marketing return on investment. Of course, looking at the whole picture, like what are we spending, what are we doing, and what do we get in return? And the third one is also brand equity. Now, brand equity is more difficult to measure. Like sometimes, in some cases, you might involve like actually a market research company to help you figure it out. Sometimes you just see it, that the market is waking up and you get more, you're mentioned in magazines or you're getting more requests and all of that. But that is what they are looking for, like the revenue, and then of course, like how are you like compared to, how you like performing compared to the competition. Yeah.
Yeah, just one more thing about, indeed, people who like C-level who does not directly deal with marketing, they only care about revenue, but the reality of marketing is that always possible to immediately show revenue or accurately show revenue. The second best thing that I've noticed people appreciate is like creating a story. So in that sense, J4 isn't being an event best like the software, it actually kind of focuses on the engagement of people on the website and like consumption of the content. And I found that many executives, they appreciate, even if you don't have the data or the revenue, because not everybody has the patience to wait several months for the marketing to show any results in B2B. They appreciate when you're like showing people reading your stuff, they're like checking out you multiple times, like visiting your website, and random people wouldn't read your very specific content about like manufacturing software or something like this. This is probably very high chance your target audience, but they're not like ready to buy it. But they know that you exist and they pay attention to you. So from that perspective, J4 is better. Still, I don't know if it outweighs its weaknesses, but yeah.
Yeah, because you have a data.
First of all, I would like to return to Tanja's point there. As I would say, analytics practitioner, I think that My main problem has been that I usually work with people in managerial positions, not with C-level. I wouldn't dream about meeting a CEO or CMO of a public company, let's say, for example, one of the biggest insurance companies, or let's say Finnair, or I work with marketing managers who don't maybe share the same needs as the upper management directors, C-level. They are mostly interested in those very detailed questions about how many times did people click on this button and so on. What was the text of that button? I can imagine thousands and thousands of ways to track website visits without any real financial importance. But in practice, we would need more discussion, not only between the silos. I think we speak too much about silos, how data and marketing have been siloed in organizations. It's more I would say that a much bigger problem is that we don't know what's happening in different levels of organization. So that's why we end up measuring things that don't really matter, because that's the only things our stakeholders ask us to track, and it's painful to even try to get access to some directors who would then tell me that they are not really interested in those details at all. Then I could spend more time in measuring more important things.
Exactly.
Again, I'm going to move it on a little bit, but a really interesting point. And I think one thing I'm going to go back to is when I'm talking to the consultants in for Google Analytics is maybe, hey, stop talking about clicks. How can we make money out of this? I think that's a pretty clear answer here. Finally, and we're going to go to this really quickly because I got a whisper in my ear that we're going on for way too long. Even though it's absolutely fascinating, and I hope everybody is finding it very interesting. Finally, it's I know Mia is a huge proponent of AI, and we're going to hear a little bit about what she thinks it can be used for in analytics and in other things as well. And then I think we're going to have some dissenters as well, but let's see what the debate comes with this.
Yes, thank you. I'm really happy that coming all the way from touring, we have finally come to the situation where we can all share funny pictures in LinkedIn about how you bought a Pepsi and then you showed it to an AI, but then it actually said Coke in there and the AI got fooled. So then you do this 10,000 times every day for weeks and then just put it everywhere on LinkedIn. I think this is really the peak of humanity, and I think we are now done with AI. I think we can put it the rest. We have reached the full potential of it. So yeah, I would say that definitely we're right now at the space where it has become, where first of all AI has, right now it's synonymous to ChatGPT, which anyone who understands AI a little bit has probably a little bit of an issue, or in general content generation. And then the second one would probably those omnius that clanking are really getting some current inside. But yeah, right now it's completely oversaturated. Everyone's kind of just messing around and pretending that they are data engineers now that they've talked to a chat and made it do some things I can code now. So we are definitely here, and I think very soon we are gonna drop most of the 99% of startup nonsense that has escalated because someone has asked ChatGPT to create an app for me, and then they start to sell it, and it's all gonna come down, and then we're gonna go back to the 1% that's actually makes sense and kind of start over from the basics of machine learning and modeling algorithms and everything. But this is a fun phase. Yeah, I'm just gonna stay off of LinkedIn while we do this funniness for a while, I think.
So I'm gonna be on the opposite side of the table here because our marketing team is very excited with AI and one of its application. One of the key areas that we are using AI for is to increase our productivity and speed to market when it comes to content production. We have one copywriter in-house, no videographer, and we have freelance, but we are based on producing content. And what we have been trying to do is that we actually feed our brand guideline to the chatbot, and then ask the chatbot to support us in writing different kind of content. We still have professional copywriter to polish the content. We do have experts to review the content, but it has been very helpful in reducing the time to market in terms of the content. And then we're also experiencing with producing video using the AI as well. We would put in some instruction and then it gives us video. So we are very excited with that. And then we have so many different things that we are using AI for. For example, my website producer, he had a task to compare for different CMS and to choose the best CMS. So we had this massive Excel with so many different cells about different features and pricing and pros and cons of different CMS. It was a massive Excel, and he had to present it to the team. What he did was that he feed the Excel to ChatGPT and asked ChatGPT to, hey, summarize these 4 options for me and put in simple words what would be the pros and cons of each option, which is saving a lot of time. So he really enjoyed that. What I have been using is some simpler tasks. For example, I'm trying Google Bot. I need to write a job description for a web designer in my team, and I didn't know where to start. So I asked Google Bot, please write a job description for a web designer. And Bart replied to me that, sorry, I'm just a language model, I can't do that. And then I changed my question to, what does a web designer do? And then Bart started to give me beautiful answers. I can almost copy paste to the job description. So I just want to say that for our team, we are very excited. We try AI to help us to produce content faster, doing research, and then even we're also experiencing to see where the AI can help us creating images for the website. So we just put in B2B software, construction, sustainability, green, clean, and we got really beautiful images that none of our designers were able to produce before. So it's been a good start, at least as an inspiration for the real designers to do their job.
I'm also a fan of AI, I have to say. I use it a lot, and I think especially like for small marketing teams, like the examples that you mentioned. It's very beneficial, and I would even go a step further. Just today, I had an interview with a marketing freelancer that I wanted to hire for a project that I'm doing. And one of my one of the conditions I have is that she knows how to properly use ChatGPT and knows how to get the results that is not like the standard tone of voice, but the tone of voice sounds like the brand guidelines and all of that, because I want her not to waste time on crafting emails by hand or on crafting any other communication. Of course, you cannot take the result, just copy paste it and then publish it. You really have to go through it, but I see a lot of potential, and I don't want the people that I'm working with to waste time just by coming up with things from scratch. And another example from my own personal usage is that when I, for instance, write LinkedIn posts, that I don't like typing. So what I do is that I often get ideas when I'm walking. So I would record it to an app that just transcribes it, and then I put that in ChatGPT, and I tell it that, hey, just make this in a structured way so I can post it on LinkedIn. So what it does, it is still my ideas, it's still my tone of voice, but I don't have to manually sit down and write it. So, and I think that's a very simple example, like when you're just having a discussion with somebody, record it, put it in ChatGPT, the transcript, and then suddenly you may have 5 LinkedIn posts out of that, just from a personal usage point.
So I definitely agree with Mia about that. Maybe not right now, but in the beginning of this year and last year, people discovered ChatGPT and they absolutely lost their shit because machine now speaks back to me. This is so awesome. And people are starting to figure out all kind of random ways, very unnecessary sometimes, about how to use it. And then, now it's kind of winding down, people realizing it is not like a magical pill that's going to fix all of your issues. And then it's finally going to find its kind of a niche and find its use. And for example, Tanja's example is very good when you have a meeting, or maybe you recorded yourself an audio file as a note, and then it can just transcribe it. It would take manually several minutes, like half an hour, like depends on how long the meeting is, for example, or maybe 20 minutes, but now this time is saved. And I also don't know about using it for creating any kind of marketing materials or content at all, because how this specifically large language models works is that analyzes all the data that exists and kind of puts some kind of outcome based on what it learned based on your inquiry then. So basically it reprocesses data, it gives you something that already exists. It's a bit counterintuitive when it comes to marketing, at least the promotional part of it, when the whole point of promotional marketing is to catch someone's attention, and you get getting someone's attention with things that somebody already done. It is of course not always straightforward like this, but this is initially the kind of the core of it. You're reusing what's already exists, so it's very often generic. Even if you're a masterful crafter like inquiries, you still need to put a lot of your own thought and work into making it actually function. However, nonetheless, ChatGPT saves time. So for example, in our company, the copywriting team tried to implement it into their work process, and they figured out that this saves about 10-15% of their time writing various marketing materials. So for example, ad copies or maybe longer blog post content. It helped with some initial idea generation, restructuring thoughts and things like this. So in the end, I feel like at least the generative, like this kind of large language model things, it's just another tool. This is not going to be revolutionary, but yet another tool that just helps, which we already have a myriad of. For example, like email. Email saves a lot of time. Sending stuff by hand would take much longer. So it makes us more efficient. So that's why we kind of have to learn it, because you don't want to be left behind. But it's not going to change drastically the way the work is done. It's just going to improve it again, like many other tools did. As far as for example, specifically data analytics goes, so AI, ChatGPT is not a new thing, and ChatGPT is a new thing, but AI is not a new thing, specifically in marketing. A good example of AI that's been forever is the algorithms, ad algorithms, organic algorithms, things you get like in your Instagram or like Google. It's all kind of this kind of machine learning algorithms of various forms and sizes, and that's been around forever. That's, for example, ChatGPT cannot transform my work to any significant degree because I've been dealing with this kind of algorithm forever. But nonetheless, when it comes, for example, for data analytics specifically, again, it cannot really analyze anything because you need a lot of context in your data to actually make some meaningful conclusions and insights out of it. But it can organize it. So, for example, you have a massive, messy spreadsheet, and you can say, oh, okay, make some kind of like a graph out of this specific column for you. And yes, it might take you a few clicks if you did use AI, but AI did it in like 2 seconds, and it would have taken you like 2 minutes, so you saved a bunch of time. So it's like little increments. It's like a ether level of knowledge. It's like a kind of this personalized system that helps with small tasks, but doesn't really revolutionize much.
I'm going to Mikko, then you, and then me.
Okay, how I personally use ChatGPT is very different from what I've heard. Well, of course, I do use it for improving content and ideating new content and so on, but my main use is writing JavaScript code. For example, if I want to track some element on a website, I might copy and paste HTML code or a sample of HTML code and prompt ChatGPT to write me a JavaScript listener that pushes the following data to data layer whenever user clicks this button or does this and that. Sometimes it works out of the box, sometimes it takes a couple of iterations, but anyway. And there are some other similar uses. For example, if I find a JavaScript that would function when installed on website directly, but not in Google Tag Manager, then I might ask ChatGPT to rewrite the JavaScript in plain vanilla with JavaScript or without jQuery and so on. So I don't have to search for snippets of information in Stack Overflow anymore. So ChatGPT is the new Stack Overflow for me.
Thank you, Mikko. I would like to continue that and pushing what Kirill was saying, that whether ChatGPT or AI gonna change marketing in any big way. I'm thinking actually today whether ChatGPT gonna be the new Google search. So marketing, digital advertising is one of the areas I own, and our main channel to bring in MQLs is paid search from Google. And actually, as of last week, we got the first marketing qualified lead coming from ChatGPT. The reason why we know it is that in the form, when we ask people the question that how did you hear from us, and they answer ChatGPT. And we can see that they come from Bing.com, which is the server of ChatGPT. Which is very exciting because obviously they was probably asking what is the best software out there for constructing LCA in ChatGPT, and our company will list it as one of those, and that's why they came to us and want to hear from us. So as a marketer, I'm thinking that it's just one lead as of last week. But what if next month we're gonna see 20, 30, hundreds of people coming to ChatGPT instead of Google search? Would we then shift our marketing budget away from Google search into ChatGPT, and whether ChatGPT will actually offer a product that, hey, advertisers come to us, put money in us instead of Google? So that's the question I'm having right now, and I'm excited to see how the future may come here.
Yeah, that's a whole other debate because, like, as you know, Google in the US has already released some generative search, and they're moving more and more towards no-click answers, which is a little bit scary for people who are doing content marketing and relying on SEO. I just wanted to, before we finish, like, I've been working with AI chatbots. Natural language processing, recognition, that sort of thing before any of this GPT-4 came out, or GPT-3. I have to agree with Mia in many cases. There's these idiots on LinkedIn who don't have a damn clue what they're talking about. They are pushing out all sorts of ideas, but for them it's crumbs and it's about getting engagement from their followers. But they don't actually give any real actionable ideas. Like, not in my mind, it's all these shortcuts which don't actually matter because they put a caveat at the end, and edit it to your liking, but nobody's got to do that. Like, for me, I've been using GPT-4, but like, I've already created processes for case studies with questionnaires and templates for my case studies. I input them into GPT-4, and all I do with that is I get, like, the answers to the questionnaires into the format of which I'd like my case study. Then I go through the whole thing and I rewrite it because it's crap writing. I still haven't figured out that GPT-4 actually does do tone of voice very well. You need a ton of data to do that. Like, you really, really do. Like, any language processing model works on this. And like, coming over to Kirill's point about how GPT-4 works is that it's an averaging of all the information on the internet. There was a really, really interesting New Yorker article that came out earlier this year. And the person who wrote it clearly had done their research because they understood how GPT works. And they likened it to doing a photocopy of something, and then doing a photocopy of it again, and again, and again. And they brought up this question of, as more and more generative AI content comes onto the internet, and language models crawl the internet for generative content, does that mean that the content quality will go down, and become really bad because it's just an average of an average of an average of an average ad infinitum. And this actually did happen to a certain extent. GPT-3 went to shit for a while, and everyone was complaining about it because, yeah, that is what happened. Like, unless we are getting original content, original research out of, I'm not even going into the fact that these models don't cite their sources, which really pisses me off. Like, beyond that, I think if we don't get original content from human beings who have done research, the GPT is not going to help people at large. And I think what this will do for content marketing and content in general is that you're going to have more and more subject matter experts who really, really need to know their shit. You're going to have to cite them on your articles. They're going to have to have a body of knowledge with original research. That's what you're going to be going with in your marketing, and you're going to have to create, like, well, to be honest, a publishing house in your company for, like, proper content. Now, GPT can help with that. I'm not saying it doesn't play a part, but, like, you can't just use GPT. It's just not feasible. So that's my 2 cents, that I'm keeping the microphone. Thank you so much, all of you, like, really, really fascinating insights. Thank you for taking the time, and I know we went way over time, but I really enjoyed it. I didn't want to stop. So, big round of applause for Ava.